Greetings and good day. This is Donnie with TechWinner, and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, guys, the folks at Kingslim recently reached out to me. Yes, they're a dashcam company, and they wanted me to test their D6 model. So today we're going to unbox it, show you how I have it mounted in my car, and show you as much real-time footage of what my experience has been over this last week of me testing. So without any further ado,
let's dive in and let's take a look.
So guys, just diving right into that unboxing experience here. As you can see, just opening that box and pulling out the dash cam itself. The build quality on this is very solid, very well built. Just the quality of it's got a nice rubber feel finish to it, kind of that soft touch. I also appreciate and like the ventilation that happens on each side of that camera as well. This does require an SD card, so I've also mated this with a Samsung SD card. I'll put a link in the description as well. I went with a 128 gig capacity memory card for this, but you could go with up to 256 for this specific camera. So I like that it has the cameras on both sides of this. The one that's shooting out of the windshield is shooting at 4K. The one that's shooting into the interior of the car is at 1080p. This also does have the ability and option to add a third camera that you could put on the rear of your car, like at your license plate. For the purposes of my testing, I did not install that. I did not have that camera provided to me, but that is a third accessory that could be attached to this camera. But just looking at some of the other contents of this box, I always love a cable pry tool. Super handy when it comes to tucking some of those cables in. You can also see here, this is a USB-C adapter that you would plug into like the power port, your 12-volt power port in your car. And also this accessory that is attached to that power cable is the GPS antenna. So I like that it actually does pull some GPS information there as well, just from a location perspective. Super handy for some of the video playback that you can use inside of the app. And then as far as mounting this to the windshield, there are a couple of different options that you have. One that is like a 3M attachment and one that's a suction cup. I went with the suction cup as far as mounting mine, but you could totally go with the 3M. So as far as the first time powering this up and just connecting the SD card to it, very easy to insert it into the slot. It immediately picks it up. The instructions talked about having to format the disk. I didn't even need to do that. I'm assuming because this was a brand new card, it just worked immediately out of the box. Didn't have to do anything else additional there. There are some nice settings for changing this from like kilometers an hour to miles per hour. And I like that it actually does show you on the screen as you're driving that speed, which has been super handy just having that. And as you can see here, just mounting this to my windshield, I did put it higher. I put it up next to the rear view mirror, which the documentation and the manual recommended that be the location for it. I did not go through the process of tucking that cabling. Some of that has to do with some of the other things that I'm testing right now, and I've just run out of space. But I love that pry tool, super handy to where you could tuck that along your windshield, get it around your dash and down to where your power port is in your vehicle. Again, just for testing purposes here, this is a 2011 Infiniti G25. Yes, this is a vehicle that I've owned for quite a while. I'm going to drive it till the wheels fall off it because it's already paid for. But just showing you some of that footage here, as you can see, this 4K quality looks very good. The resolution is very good. You know, one of the concerns that people always have when it comes to dash cams is, can you read license plates? I want to show you as much of that footage as I possibly can. I would say if a vehicle was within 3 car lengths of me, I was able to see it. Beyond that, it was having a hard time reading it, but that seems to me to be pretty reasonable for dash cams. One thing I'll point out is just that interior view, that camera, when you have it that high, it didn't really capture a ton. It was mostly pointed towards the ceiling. A lot of that just has to do with that orientation and the fact that I had the lens that's pointing out from the windshield pointed down a little bit, so it was getting more of the road. That could be something you totally adjust and tweak. I do love the built-in screen on this thing, and the fact that you can also cycle through the view of the outside, the view of what's happening inside the car, or have a view of both at the same time. It also does have just a nice screensaver feature where it just moves into just showing you the time, which again, just super handy. Kingslim does have an app that you can use to check playback from your phone. In my testing and in my experience, I had a hard time getting this to work well. It does have its own Wi-Fi network that you have to connect your phone to get that playback to work. And in my testing, I had a very hard time getting that playback to work. So I would say as far as using a mobile app to see some of that playback, set your expectation bar very low. But with the SD card. Basically, all I had to do was remove it and plug it into my computer, and I could pull up any videos. And speaking of those recordings, just one thing of note, essentially it does them in 1 minute increments automatically as you're driving. As long as that camera is continuing to get power, it's going to continue to record unless you manually tell it to pause, which you can do from some of the button controls that are on the bottom of the camera. So basically, it records for a minute and then it starts another recording immediately. You can stitch multiples of those together, and it did flow for me very well in my own testing of that process. It was very easy to pull this up in Finder on my computer and be able to just see that entire catalog of basically the exterior shots and the interior shots of the camera. And basically they were broken into the 1 minute increments. I could copy and paste them off of the card onto my personal device. But guys, if you're looking for 4K quality with a camera, this thing does a fantastic job. I want to show you a little bit of the night footage where it may have struggled a little bit more, but that's really a lot of cameras when it comes to nighttime. I still thought it did a very effective job of seeing the license plates of the vehicle beside me. I did notice on vehicles, if the license plate was positioned a little bit lower, it had a hard time reading those. I think a lot of that just has to do with the light balance of trying to navigate dark and light and my headlights hitting the license plate of the vehicle in front of me. But overall, I think this thing does a very good job. So let's take a look at that price. As of right now on Amazon, this camera is priced at $175. I'll put a link in the description if you want to go check it out, find out a little bit more about it. But huge kudos to Kingslim. They've had several different models they've had over time. I like the sleek, compact design of this one compared to some of their older models. The screen quality on it is very good, and the cameras themselves do a great job of video capture. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't already, I'd ask you to consider liking and subscribing and hitting that bell notification so that you're always staying up to date with new content as it's uploaded. But for now, I'm Donnie with Tech Winner, helping you make winning decisions when it comes to your tech. You guys have a great day.